This series begins by showing a man named Lee Goon, a wealthy businessman with a handsome and charismatic appearance. Besides that, Lee Goon also serves as the head of a property and household goods company named Jangin Chemicals. Although regarded as hardworking and intelligent, Lee Goon has a cold and slightly quirky personality. Because Lee Goon does not hesitate to fire models who are unprofessional in advertising shampoo products from his company, as the model even considered his products to be of low quality. At that time, they did not expect that although Lee Goon was the company's leader, he was very dedicated and willing to go into the field just to set an example for his models. Despite his mature age, Lee Goon has not yet married, which concerns the elders of his family. At a banquet, the elders urged Chairwoman Wang, who is Lee Goon's grandmother, to have her grandson start a family soon to continue the family line. However, Lee Goon suddenly arrives unannounced, where he explains his success in growing the company to become the #1 household goods supplier in Korea, which the elders have already benefited from through monthly allowances and a yacht provided by him. Unexpectedly, Lee Goon announces that he will be getting married in a few months because his girlfriend is coming to Korea soon. Additionally, Lee Goon says that the woman he will marry is named Sarah, who will quit her profession and settle in Korea to start a new chapter in life with him. On the other hand, in contrast to Lee Goon, Mi-young is just a secretary at a law firm. She is hardworking and cheerful young woman who has a positive aura. Unfortunately, her weakness is that Mi-young cannot say no to her friends, so she is often tasked with buying coffee and breakfast for her colleagues almost every day. Despite helping with tasks outside her responsibilities, Mi-young never receives appreciation and is not even acknowledged by her superiors. Only one friend, named Ji-yun, cares for Mi-young and always forbids her from doing menial jobs. One day, the lawyer at her office asks Mi-young to give candy to his child as usual. While heading home from the mall, Mi-young sees a child in danger of going down an escalator alone. Seeing this, she then runs to help but accidentally bumps into 2 children carrying mini balls. As a result, the balls scatter, causing her to slip because she is wearing high heel. At that moment, Mi-young inadvertently collides with Lee Goon, who happens to be buying an engagement ring for Sarah at the same mall. Both of them lose control due to the scattered balls and eventually fall together. The incident causes Mi-young's candies to scatter, and Lee Goon's ring rolls away. Because of this, Lee Goon tries to find the meaningful ring, going down the escalator, but his steps are halted by many dogs waiting for a contest. After accidentally bumping into their food, Lee Goon and Mi-young are chased, considered intruders. They are saved by the pet owner when they reach a dead end. Fortunately, Mi-young manages to grab Lee Goon's ring before they are chased by the dogs. However, Lee Goon is angry because the ring he specially bought for Sarah ends up being worn by Mi-young. After returning from the candy store, Mi-young's boss at her office announced that it was the company's 10th anniversary celebration. As a reward for the employees, the company would hold a raffle with the prize being a stay at a luxury resort in Macau. Shortly after, the drawing began, and surprisingly, the person selected was Mi-young. However, the ticket was for a couple, so Mi-young had to invite one more person. Since her best friend and mother refused to join her on the vacation, Mi-young planned to sell the ticket to an interested friend. In the midst of her dilemma, one of the lawyers at her office named Lawyer Min invited Mi-young to dinner. Knowing this, Mi-young felt a bit flustered because she had had a crush on Lawyer Min for a long time. Additionally, she became confident, thinking Lawyer Min genuinely liked her, especially the next day when Lawyer Min sent a very considerate message. It seemed that Lawyer Min was only getting close to Mi-young to get a free vacation and become her partner to Macau. Unfortunately, naive Mi-young eventually invited Lawyer Min for the vacation, believing that he would confess his feelings in a different place. Elsewhere, Lee Goon was preparing to propose to Sarah after a manager recommended a luxury resort in Macau because it was where Lee Goon and Sarah first met. Unexpectedly, Sarah arrived early at Lee Goon's apartment, so he quickly hid his proposal plans to avoid being found out. Apparently, being separated for a long time, they could not contain their longing for each other. Sometime later, Lee Goon arrived in Macau and immediately started setting up the location for proposing to Sarah. Photos were placed, flowers arranged, and the orchestra music was ready to play. Unbeknownst to Lee Goon, 2 of his enemies were disguised as resort employees, where they wanted to trap Lee Goon by putting a drug in his drink and sending a call girl to his room. Unfortunately, before they could deliver it, the drink fell into the pool. At the same time, Mi Young and Lawyer Min had just arrived in Macau. After taking an open-top bus, they arrived at the luxurious 5-star resort, where Lawyer Min went straight to the casino area and told Mi Young to rest first. There, Lawyer Min was tempted by a beautiful woman named Miss Kim. After waiting for several hours, Mi Young tried to find Lawyer Min because she was feeling unwell. While sitting near the pool, Mi Young heard a man talking to himself, where his words sounded romantic and sincere as he rehearsed his proposal, making Mi Young feel captivated. Suddenly, Mi Young sneezed, and the man, who turned out to be Lee Goon, heard her. Panicking, Mi Young tried to hide, but she found the bottle that Lee Goon's enemies had dropped earlier and drank it all, thinking it was still a sterile drink. Meanwhile, Lee Goon was enjoying the resort's facilities, one of which was the spa. Without Lee Goon knowing, his two enemies were now disguised as therapists and had put a sleeping drug and a stimulant in his drink bottle. After drinking almost the entire contents of the bottle, Lee Goon realized that the men were Mr. Park and Hong Jun, people who had clashed with him over factory matters. At that moment, they begged Lee Goon not to fire the soap factory employees even though Lee Goon had now bought the factory. Unexpectedly, the effects of the drug powder began to take hold, where Lee Goon started to lose focus and stumbled as he entered his room. Once he reached the bed, he collapsed and fell asleep. After that, Mr. Park and Hong Jun, disguised as cleaning staff, took advantage of this opportunity. They entered Lee Goon's room, hurriedly undressed him, and unknowingly changed the room number by bumping into the cleaning equipment. Not only Lee Goon, but Mi Young, who had also drunk the same beverage, felt a similar effect. She felt a surge of arousal and also slightly drowsy. In a semi-conscious state, Mi Young mistakenly entered Lee Goon's room because the number was the same as her room number. Both under the influence of the drug, they engaged in an intimate moment. Apparently, Lee Goon thought the woman beside him was Sarah, who had just arrived, while Mi Young believed the man was Lawyer Min. The next morning, they woke up undressed and were shocked to find themselves sleeping with a stranger. At the same time, Mr. Park and Hong Jun were ready with their cameras to capture the scandal and spread it. However, their plan backfired because the woman sleeping with Lee Goon was not Miss Kim, the woman they had hired to trap Lee Goon. Because of this, Hong Jun was shocked to recognize the woman with Lee Goon as his own sister-in-law. After that, Mr. Park and Hong Jun fled, followed by Mi Young, who hid in the bathroom to get dressed, while Lee Goon reported Mi Young to the hotel as a troublemaker. After they dressed, Lee Goon dragged Mi Young and threw her onto the bed. Upon seeing Mi Young's face up close, Lee Goon recognized her from the ring incident before. He then accused Mi Young of planning this moment since their first meeting and conspiring with Hong Jun for money, although Mi Young was also scared, embarrassed, and confused about the situation. In response to Lee Goon's report, the hotel staff took Lee Goon and Mi Young to the CCTV room, where he asked the security to find Mr. Park and Hong Jun after tracking them through CCTV. A chase ensued. The two managed to escape, but Lee Goon was lucky as the camera used to record him fell into the river. On the other hand, Sarah, who was supposed to arrive in Macau, changed her mind, where her love for ballet made her return to New York after being asked to be the lead dancer. In a voicemail, Sarah promised to return to Lee Goon after doing her best on stage. Hearing the message, Lee Goon felt immense disappointment because all the preparations he had made were now in vain, and the proposal was cancelled. However, Lee Goon still had unfinished business with Mi Young. Shortly after, the hotel confirmed that Mi Young was a guest at the resort. Not believing it right away, Lee Goon wanted to verify it himself and found out that there were indeed 2 rooms with the same number. With this, the matter was considered resolved. Returning to her room barefoot, Mi Young found Lawyer Min with another woman, Miss Kim. It turned out that Miss Kim thought Lawyer Min was Lee Goon, which led to her mistakenly serving the wrong client. Because of this, the man Mi Young thought had feelings for her now disregarded her disappointment, as Lawyer Min's true personality did not match her expectations. In the midst of their argument, Lee Goon arrived to return Mi Young's shoes that she had left in his room. Lee Goon then invited Mi Young to leave so she wouldn't have to listen to Lawyer Min's harsh words. At the park, Mi Young expressed her disappointment while crying in front of Lee Goon. Listening to her grievances about Lawyer Min, Lee Goon felt sympathy and started to scold her. Lee Goon was very angry because he didn't want to see anyone belittled, and he didn't want Mi Young to become weak just because she was dumped by a man. Additionally, Lee Goon wanted Mi Young to look strong and attractive. He even suggested that they do a makeover from head to toe. Not long after, Mi Young went through all kinds of body treatments, even applying makeup and wearing a luxurious dress. After the makeover, Mi Young looked beautiful and perfect, with her appearance was vastly different, no longer the naive girl, and Lee Goon was visibly impressed. With her new look, Lee Goon took Mi Young to the casino. Seeing Lawyer Min and Miss Kim there, Lee Goon was tempted to play. At the beginning of the game, Lawyer Min was indeed winning and made a lot of money from Lee Goon because he confidently placed large bets. The losses that Lee Goon suffered were intentional to lure Lawyer Min into betting even more. When his opponent was engrossed in the game, the more strategic Lee Goon finally won. After that, Lawyer Min was left with nothing, and Miss Kim abandoned him. Desperate, the shameless Lawyer Min tried to woo Mi Young again. Lee Goon then demanded that Lawyer Min kneel and apologize to Mi Young. However, with her kind nature, Mi Young didn't show any anger and just left the casino. That night, Mi Young chatted outside the hotel with Lee Goon. Despite having gone through a lot, they were only just getting to know each other. At that moment, Lee Goon confidently introduced himself, while Mi Young felt insecure because her name sounded common. She also gave Lee Goon a casino chip as proof that she wasn't a jinx and always had hope. In return, Mi Young gave him cherry candy, which she believed could make dreams and love come true. Before parting, Lee Goon asked Mi Young to forget about the previous night's events, as they were just a misunderstanding, and they might never meet again. After returning from Macau, Mi Young resumed her normal life as a secretary at the law firm. However, she was still being used as an errand girl, which upset Jian. One day, Mi Young saw Lee Goon arriving in front of her office. Apparently, Lee Goon intended to hire a lawyer to handle the soap factory in Yule Island that was about to be closed. He also requested a legal consultant for the Chinese market. At that time, senior lawyer Hong recommended Lawyer Min, but Lee Goon burst into laughter upon seeing Lawyer Min's face, recognizing him as the man he met in Macau who also dated Mi Young. However, to hire him as a lawyer, Lee Goon needed to think it over. Knowing that Lawyer Min and Mi Young worked in the same office, Lee Goon immediately looked for Mi Young. Shortly after, he found her in the lounge with Lawyer Min. It seemed the two were in a conflict until Lee Goon arrived to mediate. Hearing the commotion Lee Goon caused, all the employees were curious about what was happening. Earlier, Lawyer Min had forced Mi Young to ask Lee Goon to make him as his legal consultant. If Mi Young refused, Lawyer Min threatened to spread rumors about their relationship. Unfortunately, Lawyer Min's behavior disgusted Lee Goon, so he told Lawyer Hong that he would use the law firm's services only if Lawyer Min was fired. Lee Goon then invited Mi Young to go to a cafe, where she seemed uneasy because she was late with her period and was most likely pregnant. However, Mi Young hesitated to tell Lee Goon. On the other hand, another family meeting for Lee Goon was held. At that moment, the elders discussed the 20% drop in stock value due to Lee Goon's postponed wedding. If he did not marry and have children, they would appoint a child from another family as the company's successor. Knowing this, Lee Goon's grandmother refused, as the man named Lee Yong was the illegitimate son of Lee Goon's father's second wife, but the elders seemed indifferent. The next day, Lee Yong and his mother began living in Lee Goon's house, where Lee Goon gave them one condition. If he married within a year, they would have to leave his house. Meanwhile, Lee Yong was lucky enough to get a job at Jiangyan Chemicals despite his limited knowledge. However, on his first day at the office, Lee Yong displayed poor manners by putting his feet on Lee Goon's desk. When asked to leave, Lee Yong saw Lee Goon opening a package containing a flash drive. Curious, he then returned to the room after Lee Goon left and discovered the flash drive contained a video of Lee Goon with a woman in a hotel. Knowing this, Lee Yong quickly copied the file before anyone else could see it. At the same time, Lee Goon, who had just arrived downstairs, remembered he had not removed the flash drive. Shortly after, he was shocked that the man from the soap factory on Yule Island dared to threaten him. Although in the footage provided, Mi Young's face was blurred as she was the sister-in-law of Hong Jun, who had helped Mr. Park trap Lee Goon. After removing the flash drive from his computer, Lee Goon immediately went to the law firm for consultation. Lawyer Hong then advised Lee Goon to find a representative from Yule Island and negotiate before taking legal action. Elsewhere, a handsome man named Daniel was looking for his sister at an orphanage. Separated for a long time, Daniel, who had interests in music and design, wanted to find his sister. Additionally, he loved children and often played with them near a church. One day, while playing hide and seek, Daniel hid in a pastor's room. Suddenly, a woman entered the booth to confess her sins, thinking he was a pastor. The woman then told Daniel about her situation of being pregnant without a husband and hesitated to inform the baby's father because he already had a girlfriend. After leaving the booth, they saw each other's faces, and the woman turned out to be Mi Young. At that moment, Daniel advised Mi Young to take a pregnancy test, which she immediately did, and the test results were positive. To deal with the situation, Mi Young decides to return to her hometown to inform her mother, even though she knows her mother will be very angry. Upon arriving home, Mi Young didn't say anything. She just enjoyed her mother's delicious food without mentioning her pregnancy. That night, Mi Young asked her sister Mija, who was also pregnant, about the accuracy of pregnancy tests. Hearing this, Mija said that usually, a second test would be more accurate, and it would be better to do it in the morning when pregnancy hormones are high. The next day, based on Mija's information, Mi Young retook the test, and the result was still positive. Unfortunately, due to the broken bathroom door, Mi Young's mother walked in. Seeing Mi Young's strange behavior made her mother suspicious, and she grabbed what Mi Young was hiding behind her back. Upon discovering that her daughter's positive pregnancy test result, Mi Young's mother was furious. Although Mi Young explained the incident of entering the wrong room, her mother didn't stop scolding her. At that moment, Hong Jun, who was secretly eavesdropping, intervened and claimed to know the man who had impregnated Mi Young. At the same time, Lee Gun unexpectedly came to Yule Island to handle issues with his company. While discussing the local specialty, anchovy chili paste, the representatives invited Lee Gun to a restaurant that served it. Shortly after, when Lee Gun and his group arrived, Hong Jun immediately pointed him out as the father of Mi Young's baby. Lee Gun was shocked as he didn't understand why he was being assaulted. Since Mi Young's mother wouldn't stop ranting, Mi Young eventually confessed everything to Lee Gun. Hearing this, Lee Gun was asked to inform his grandmother that he had impregnated a girl. Unexpectedly, his grandmother was very happy and promised to take responsibility. Meanwhile, to prevent Lee Gun and Mi Young from escaping, Mi Young's mother locked them in the storeroom. Lee Gun then searched for a way out but ended up falling. Eventually, they resigned themselves to wait until morning. To pass the time, Lee Gun rummaged through the storeroom and found Mi Young's childhood hope box. Inside were papers with drawings and words, including a picture of her late father. Similarly, Lee Gun's parents had also died when he was young due to an accident. On the other hand, regarding her pregnancy, Mi Young decided to have an abortion the next day. She didn't want their baby's presence to be a burden when Lee Gun and Sarah got married. Despite his inner turmoil, Lee Gun promised to accompany Mi Young to the clinic and he wouldn't let her face difficulties alone. Unfortunately, when morning came, Mi Young was no longer in bed, as she had left a letter and gone to the clinic. Panicked, Lee Gun rushed to Mi Young's house to ask about the nearest clinic or hospital. It turned out there were 3 health facilities in the area, and the boats had already departed. With Mi Young couldn't be contacted, adding to their panic. At that moment, help came from Mr. Park, who was bringing a boat, where they immediately headed to the location, and with the other members of Mi Young's family, Lee Gun told them to split up. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Mi Young met Daniel, who was there to see someone. Hearing that Mi Young was planning to have an abortion, Daniel asked her to reconsider. However, there seemed to be no other way but to let go of her unborn child, as the baby's father already had a girlfriend. In the end, she asked Daniel to pray for her. Since their decision was final, the doctor provided a consent form and Mi Young promptly signed it, where the procedure was scheduled for that day. Just after signing the documents, Mi Young was taken to the operating room. Before she was injected with anesthesia, Lee Gun suddenly entered the operating room and carried Mi Young out. It turned out, Lee Gun had changed his mind after hearing the baby's heartbeat. On the other side, Lee Gun's grandmother, who had just arrived on Yule Island, immediately headed to the hospital. Without saying a word, she hit and scolded Lee Gun for allowing Mi Young to consider aborting her pregnancy. At that moment, Lee Gun defended himself by stating his intention to keep the baby. However, they would not get married because Lee Gun already had a fiancée, Sarah. Unfortunately, Lee Gun's grandmother opposed this and wanted them to get married. Mr. Park also agreed and insisted they start a family to keep the soap factory running. Meanwhile, Mi Young felt this decision was wrong, especially since she and Lee Gun did not love each other. Mi Young's mother also did not want her daughter to be forced by Lee Gun's family. After some thought, Lee Gun decided to marry Mi Young and he asked for her consent, as Lee Gun wanted to be a good father to their child. Even though, now his heart was with Sarah, and Lee Gun did not know when he could love Mi Young. Meanwhile, Daniel finally found someone who might be his sister. That person was Kim Hee-won, a hospital employee. It turned out, Hee-won had similarities with Daniel's sister, who was called Kim Mi-young as a child. Hee-won also had a burn scar on her back, but the story behind the scar was slightly different from Daniel's sister's. Thus, it was confirmed that Hee-won was not Daniel's sister. At the same time, Daniel's distress was also felt by Lee-gun. Not because he couldn't find his sister, but because Lee-gun couldn't find the best solution to his problem. He could not think of an alternative besides marriage, which would automatically mean losing Se-ra. Lee-gun wanted to be honest with his fiancée, but he felt it was not the right time, especially since that day was Se-ra's first performance as the lead dancer. Not long after, the wedding was finally held hastily, with all preparations were not optimal, including the wedding rings. At that moment, Mi-young gave her father's ring to Lee-gun, while he reluctantly used the ring he had intended for Se-ra. The marriage vows were sacred, but they were not heartfelt. After the wedding ceremony, Lee-gun and his grandmother returned to Seoul first, while Mi-young stayed for a few more days at her mother's house. At the same time, Mr. Park gave Lee-gun a gift to be opened only when he arrived in Seoul. That night, Lee-gun drank with manager Tak, who always followed him wherever he went. Lee-gun gave the gift from Mr. Park to his loyal employee. When opened, the gift contained a stimulant. Seeing this, Lee-gun suddenly remembered Hong Jun's words when Mr. Park handed over the gift, where the stimulant had brought Lee-gun and Mi-young together in Macau. Realizing he had been trapped by Mr. Park and the people from Yule Island, Lee-gun became frustrated and consulted a psychiatrist. He then nicknamed Mi-young Snail because she appeared naive and foolish on the outside but was strong in her way. When moving into Lee-gun's house, Mi-young was mistaken for a maid by Lee-young's mother, who was Lee-gun's father's second wife. In contrast, Lee-gun's grandmother was enthusiastic about having a beautiful and calm granddaughter-in-law. She saw it all as destiny and took Mi-young on a house tour. She even bought matching pajamas for Mi-young and Lee-gun, although he refused to wear them. Unlike his previous frustrated state, seemingly sleepless for days, Lee-gun's attitude towards Mi-young began to change, where he became cold and seemed arrogant. Despite being married, Lee-gun refused to share a bed with Mi-young, so she chose to sleep on the sofa. Unfortunately, due to her pregnancy, Mi-young became easily hungry and couldn't sleep until she had eaten. Ultimately, Mi-young decided to go to the kitchen to find some food. Fearful of being caught, she hid under the table when Lee-gun came down to take his medication. Seeing her feet, Lee-gun was frightened and thought there was a ghost. When Mi-young finally revealed herself, she apologized for making a mistake on her first day. Lee-gun, who didn't like this, immediately forbade Mi-young from wandering around in front of him. Hearing this, Mi-young then said she would try to act as if she didn't exist. The next day, Mi-young resigned and collected her belongings from the office. At that moment, lawyer Hong, who was also Lee-gun's legal counsel, left a document for her husband. On her way home, Mi-young noticed a cafe under renovation made her focused until she didn't realize there was a dog behind her. When she turned around, she was startled by the dog and her belongings fell. Because of this, a man immediately helped pick up her things, and upon closer inspection, the man turned out to be Daniel. It turns out that the place is a cafe that Daniel will open in a few days. Mi-young, still thinking Daniel is a priest, tells him that she is married. However, Daniel accidentally opens the document she brought and sees that it is a divorce paper, which Mi-young hadn't known about. After organizing her belongings, Mi-young bid farewell and Daniel gave her his phone number in case she needed someone to talk to. Because of this, they had a few meetings and they finally introduced themselves. When Mi-young mentioned her name, Daniel was surprised because his sister also had the same nickname. On the other hand, Lee-young and his mother complained to the chairman about Lee-gun and Mi-young faking their marriage. They did this to annul Lee-young as the heir. At that moment, Lee-young's mother even openly bribed the chairman for mutual success. Unfortunately, they weren't pretending to be married, as they were indeed forced into marriage by circumstances. Moreover, Mi-young knew that Lee-gun's love for Se-ra could never be replaced. After she witnessed this herself when she accidentally played a video in Lee-gun's private room. At that moment, Lee-gun and Se-ra were happily joking around, a moment incomparable to the brief time Mi-young had known him. Shortly after, Lee-gun suddenly entered and caught Mi-young intruding into his private room. Frustrated, Lee-gun handed her the divorce papers to sign. where the divorce would happen after the baby was born, with Mi Young would receive a settlement of 1 billion won. Hearing Lee Goon's words hurt Mi Young's pride, and while crying, she said that the marriage was to protect their child and Yule Island. With all her heart, Mi Young then thanked Lee Goon for always being there to help her. Lee Goon's previously warm demeanor now made her do everything sincerely. However, if that's what Lee Goon wanted, Mi Young couldn't do anything about it. She then agreed to the divorce but refused to accept the money, as she could give birth and raise her child alone. Despite Lee Goon's cold treatment, Mi Young always hid it. Instead of being honest, she claimed to be treated very well by him when her mother called. On the other hand, Lee Goon's grandmother, who knew the truth, scolded Lee Goon and reminded him not to be a coward like his father. Because of this, Lee Goon was angry because he didn't want to be compared to his father. The next day, due to the stress of worrying about her grandson, Lee Goon's grandmother ended up in the hospital. Knowing this, Lee Goon and Mi Young rushed to the hospital. Upon arrival, Lee Goon's grandmother asked them to attend a pregnancy class to help her feel better. Throughout the yoga session, Lee Goon and Mi Young didn't perform well, unlike typical couples. They were awkward with each other until Mi Young eventually left in the middle of the session. On the next occasion, Lee Goon asked Mi Young to lie to his grandmother that they had attended the class. After returning from the pregnancy class, Mi Young felt hungry. However, Lee Goon couldn't accompany her because he had a meeting and he only gave her a card to buy whatever she wanted, but she refused. Meanwhile, after buying paint, Daniel saw Mi Young eating alone in a restaurant. At that moment, Daniel invited her to help him renovate the cafe, where they painted some parts, arranged tables, and put up the cafe logo. Shortly after, while working, Daniel took pictures of Mi Young, and he suddenly noticed a wound on her arm, which he hadn't realized. Because of this, Daniel diligently treated it. During a break, Daniel observed a cup painted by Mi Young, which depicted a cute child. Apparently, Mi Young imagined the child as her future baby, but Daniel felt something was missing, suggesting there should be pictures of the father and mother. However, Mi Young thought there was no point in painting the parents since they wouldn't be together. Hearing this, Daniel then revealed that he knew about Mi Young's divorce papers. But she didn't blame Lee Goon at all, and she understood his decision. At that moment, while talking about personal matters, made Daniel feel like he was chatting with his own sister. Worried about Mi Young, Daniel escorted her home that night. Upon stopping at a house, Daniel immediately realized that Mi Young's husband was Lee Goon. Before leaving Lee Goon's house, Daniel advised Mi Young to contact him if she had any problems. Unfortunately, Lee Goon saw Daniel's behavior as shameless, thinking it inappropriate for a married woman to be advised to contact another man. Shortly after, while relaxing in his private room, Lee Goon was approached by Mi Young, who wanted to discuss the divorce, where she pleaded with Lee Goon to delay signing the divorce papers until after their baby was born. The next day, the elders, influenced by Lee Young's mother, visited Lee Goon's house. They wanted to ensure that Lee Goon was not pretending to be married. One of the elders even mocked Mi Young's background, noting that she came from a small island called Yule Island. Nevertheless, she proudly spoke of the remote island's natural wealth. She also thanked Lee Goon for buying the soap factory and relocating it to Seoul, which improved the welfare of Yule Island's residents. Hearing Mi Young's words, Lee Goon looked very anxious, because he had signed a contract selling the factory to Do Company. Because of this, he secretly asked his manager to find out the company's intentions for purchasing the factory. Before his anxiety subsided, Se-ra suddenly informed him that her performance would end next week, allowing her to return to Korea. However, during their conversation, Lee Goon abruptly ended the call, surprising Se-ra because it was unlike him. It turned out that Lee Goon heard Mi Young screaming due to water spraying in all directions, which resulting in the entire bathroom area was wet, including her. Lee Goon then quickly turned off the water and wrapped her in a dry towel, as he didn't want Mi Young to get sick from the cold. Shortly after, Lee Goon's care didn't stop there, because he also made time to accompany Mi Young to a pregnancy class, where the lesson that day was sewing baby clothes. Despite arriving late, Lee Goon proved his sewing skills to everyone. Eventually, his competitive nature resurfaced, and he caught up quickly, even being more adept than the other husbands. They then created an adorable baby outfit, unlike any other, and Mi Young intended to use it for their child in the future. As they were about to take the elevator down after leaving the pregnancy class, they ran into Se-ra's friend. Mi Young then explained that they were attending the class for work purposes and left early. That night, Lee Gun grew worried because Mi Young hadn't returned home yet. Unexpectedly, he found Mi Young asleep on the sofa, and Lee Gun looked at her with indescribable feelings. He then gently supported Mi Young's body as she almost fell off the sofa. After that, he also moved her to the bed and changed her bandage. Unfortunately, due to her pregnancy, Mi Young overslept and Lee Young's mother made a fuss about it. But Lee Gun retorted with even harsher words. Meanwhile, Mi Young was puzzled to wake up in Lee Gun's bed, and she also remembered that her mother had mentioned going to Seoul for a friend's child's wedding. But Mi Young forgot to inform Lee Gun. When Mi Young's mother sent a message, she quickly got ready and left. Throughout the journey, Mi Young worried about being scolded by her mother for not bringing Lee Gun. However, the man she worried about was already there, happily singing with the wedding guests. Seeing Mi Young arrive, the guests asked her to join Lee Gun for karaoke, which made the atmosphere very lively, and they enjoyed it. Before leaving, Mi Young's mother warmly hugged Lee Gun, expressing that she would consider him her own son, which made Mi Young happy to witness. On the other hand, Lee Gun's manager has obtained information about Do Company, which has bought Lee Gun's soap factory to build a waste processing facility. Previously, Do Company was known for dumping its waste into the mountains and the sea. Additionally, they have been sued and reported to the authorities. If Mi Young finds out, she will be sad because the beautiful island she is proud of is being destroyed for money. Ultimately, Lee Gun negotiated with the representatives of Do Company. Together with his lawyer and manager, Lee Gun intended to cancel the factory sale and was willing to pay a contract cancellation fee. Unfortunately, his statement was met with anger by the director of Do Company, but Lee Gun remained firm and unwavering. At the same time, Lee Young learned about the sale of the factory and used this information to try to separate Lee Gun and Mi Young. Meanwhile, Mi Young accepted Daniel's invitation to his design exhibition. While admiring the beautiful items in front of her, she didn't notice Daniel's presence. Suddenly, Mi Young stopped and dropped her belongings. Sensing something was wrong, Daniel approached her, and it turned out Mi Young had received a message about the soap factory sale contract. Reading the message made her hands tremble. Mi Young then could only hold back her tears as she told Daniel about it, and her disappointment was now overwhelming. From the opposite direction, Daniel saw Lee Gun walking towards them. At that moment, Lee Gun attended the exhibition at his grandmother's request to meet a client who would become a business partner. However, he was greeted by an unwelcome sight as Daniel suddenly hugged his wife. To Lee Gun, Mi Young was the precious mother of his baby, and before giving birth, she shouldn't get sick or emotionally hurt. Meanwhile, Mi Young's disappointment was uncontainable this time. The man she considered kind had cruelly sold her hometown just to make it a waste dump. As a result, Mi Young then poured out her sadness to Daniel. Burdened by keeping secrets for too long, Daniel confessed that he wasn't a priest as Mi Young had always believed. Hearing this, Mi Young was very shocked and left him immediately. Upon arriving home, Mi Young quickly packed her belongings, because there was no point in staying in the house while her hometown's fate was on the line. But before she could leave, Lee Gun arrived with a cake, planning to share it with her. Unfortunately, his efforts to stop Mi Young were in vain, as she was determined and believed that their meeting was a mistaken destiny from the beginning. After that, Mi Young's departure left Lee Gun with questions, as he didn't understand why his wife was angry and left the house. To alleviate her disappointment, Mi Young stopped by Daniel's cafe. She had left Daniel earlier not out of anger, but because she felt guilty for burdening him, who wasn't a priest, with her complaints all this time. Eventually, Daniel asked Mi Young to rest at his cafe while she thought things over calmly. As she waited for Daniel to cook, Mi Young looked around the area and she found a drawing of a woman made by Daniel. The woman was Daniel's younger sister who had been missing since childhood, and his sister was also named Kim Young. It turned out they had lost contact since Daniel was adopted to America. Not only did they share the same name, but their personalities seemed quite similar as well. Therefore, Daniel wanted Mi Young and himself to become siblings. As an older brother, he advised Mi Young to go home. After all, Lee Gun must be very worried about her. Following Daniel's advice, Mi Young decided to return home. However, upon reaching the door, she hesitated. As she was about to turn back, she found Lee Gun standing behind her. At that moment, Lee Gun was visibly worried about Mi Young's well-being and had been searching for her. He then invited his wife inside to discuss the day's issues once their anger had subsided. The next day, under Lee Gun's orders, Manager Tak successfully invited someone to come, and that person was Daniel. They then discussed collaboration to advance the company, and Daniel clearly agreed to the project for Mi Young's sake. They agreed on work matters, but differed in their personal opinions about Mi Young. Meanwhile, without prior notice, Mi Ja and Hong Jun visited, where they planned to find a place to stay, considering the factory would be moved to Seoul. At that moment, Lee Goon and Mi Young displayed affection in front of them, appearing like a real married couple. It was then that Mi Young brought up the factory sale, and Lee Goon was shocked that she knew about it. This explained why his wife had been gloomy for several days. As he tried to explain, Mi Ja and Hong Jun overheard. Without hesitation, Mi Ja grabbed Lee Goon's hair, giving him no chance to clarify. Suddenly, Mi Ja experienced contractions, so they rushed her onto a boat. In a panic, Lee Goon searched for a doctor on board. Finding none, he used his basic medical knowledge to help with Mi Ja's delivery. After doing his best, Mi Ja's baby was safely born, and they immediately took them to the hospital. Meanwhile, Mi Young's mother and other family members finally arrived. Witnessing the childbirth and how happy Mi Ja was to welcome her baby made Lee Goon very emotional and deeply moved. In addition to canceling the soap factory sale, from Mr. Park's explanation, Mi Young eventually learned that Lee Goon was building a residential center with sports facilities on Yule Island. Instantly, her disappointment turned into immense joy. On the other hand, Lee Goon felt uneasy about his emotions. He planned to visit Sarah in New York next week to tell her the truth. That night, while in his private room, Lee Goon heard a creepy sound. He then searched for the source and found Mi Young reading a fairy tale to the baby in her womb. Mi Young had gotten a good book from Ji Yun, her former colleague. As a future father, Lee Goon wanted to try reading it. When it got late, they went to bed, with Lee Goon insisting that Mi Young sleep in the bedroom while he took the sofa. Unfortunately, Lee Goon wasn't used to sleeping on the sofa, which made his back hurt. Because of this, Mi Young eventually asked Lee Goon to sleep in the bed, and to be fair, they both decided to sleep in the same bed without any ulterior motives. However, both felt uncomfortable and nervous. Sharing a bed with Mi Young ignited Lee Goon's enthusiasm, so the next morning he exercised with full energy. Unexpectedly, he also met Daniel while jogging. At that moment, his competitive spirit was stirred, where Lee Goon and Daniel kept overtaking each other until they were too exhausted to run anymore. In the afternoon, after attending the pregnancy class together, Lee Goon invited Mi Young to eat. Unexpectedly, she craved stingray sashimi, but Lee Goon, who didn't like the smell, kept covering his nose with their wedding rings were still on their fingers. After that, they think of a name for Mi Young's baby, where they decide on the cute name Gaedong, which was Mi Young's childhood nickname. After lunch, Lee Goon took Mi Young to visit his office. However, to their surprise, Sarah was already waiting in his office chair. It turned out, Sarah had returned from New York without any notice, and she immediately hugged Lee Goon, expressing her deep longing. But Lee Goon wasn't enthusiastic and was confused about what to do. When Mi Young tried to leave, Lee Goon tried to stop her, and he felt it was the right time to reveal everything to Sarah. However, Mi Young suddenly introduced herself as Chairman Wang's secretary and asked Lee Goon to speak outside. Apparently, Mi Young didn't want Lee Goon to confess everything to Sarah, as she couldn't bear to see the woman, who looked so happy and missed Lee Goon dearly, hurt. Moreover, Sarah hoped to marry Lee Goon soon. On the other hand, while slicing onions, Lee Young's mother reminded him that Mi Young was the mistress who had taken Lee Goon from his true love. She even said that Mi Young was just waiting for the right time until she would be discarded. Meanwhile, trying to come to terms with the situation, Mi Young finally went for a morning walk, where several reporters suddenly approached her, asking about the rumor that Mi Young was having a baby with Lee Goon. They even suggested that Mi Young had planned to get close to the wealthy man until she conceived his child. Fortunately, Daniel suddenly appeared and pulled Mi Young into his cafe. He then scolded and chased away all the reporters trying to enter. Not long after, Sarah was also being interviewed as a Korean ballet dancer with a brilliant career in New York. Lee Goon, who was accompanying her, received an emergency call and had to leave in the middle of the session. After he received information that his mother-in-law had been admitted to the hospital due to gallstones. At the same time, one of Mi Young's sisters informed her, causing Mi Young to worry about her mother as well. After ensuring her mother was fine, Lee Goon and Mi Young finally returned home. When they arrived home, from the opposite direction, Sarah came to give a present to Lee Goon's grandmother. Because of this, Lee Goon could no longer hold back and decided to tell Sarah the truth, but it was difficult for her to believe. After that, another bitter reality hit Sarah, as she had to accept that Mi Young was pregnant with Lee Goon's child. It was tough for both Sarah and Lee Goon to face this because they had shared many memories together. The next day, Lee Goon found out that the rumor about him and Mi Young had spread in the newspapers. He was very angry and worried that his wife would read it and become sad. However, Mi Young was being taken to a party by Chairman Wang to have some fun. At that moment, she was introduced as the wife of the heir of Jiangyin Chemicals. After introducing Mi Young to the guests, Chairman Wang left her to meet business partners. While eating alone, the guests at the next table gossiped about Mi Young, as they said she was shameless for showing up at an exclusive event for elite women. After that, Mi Young's sadness worsened when she was splashed with water by Sarah's friend she met in the pregnancy class. At that time, even Lawyer Min mocked her by exposed Mi Young's background as a former secretary at a law firm. He also mentioned that Mi Young was the woman rumored to be with Lee Goon. Lawyer Min's laughter stopped when Lee Goon suddenly entered, while clapping his hands. Lee Goon then kicked Lawyer Min off the podium and told the audience that the rumor was not true. However, what they didn't know was that Mi Young had managed to change Lee Goon's mindset while living together. Lee Goon then walked over to Mi Young and said that she had always treated others sincerely, making her the wife he loved the most. Unable to stay any longer, Lee Goon quickly took Mi Young out of the place. Although the party was still ongoing, they didn't want to stay in a room full of arrogant people. Eventually, they enjoyed the party by playing music and dancing by the riverside. It turned out that Lee Goon could be very romantic. After the party became even more lively with fireworks set off by Manager Tak and Lawyer Hong from a hidden place. That moment was very precious to them, and they didn't want it to end quickly. Not wanting to waste the moment, Lee Goon then kissed Mi Young warmly on the cheek. Receiving such kindness from him, Mi Young felt scared because she thought their togetherness was only temporary. Mi Young even wondered how she could hope to have Lee Goon. After that, Lee Goon's behavior towards her had become increasingly kind. For instance, he asked her to kiss his cheek before going to work. Lee Goon also helped serve customers when Mi Young's mother's newly opened restaurant in Seoul was crowded. Despite her fears, she couldn't help but feel a bit happy, and Mi Young felt they were becoming more like a real family. Because of this, Mi Young even started a pregnancy journal, with the first page filled with an ultrasound photo of her baby and a band-aid given by Lee Goon. Additionally, to enhance the image of Jiangyin Chemicals, Lee Goon participated in a magazine photo shoot, where Daniel, who had already signed a cooperation contract with Lee Goon's company, also joined the photo shoot. Shortly after, since Lee Goon had some business at the office, Mi Young went home with Daniel. She then asked to be taken to a place to meet Sarah, who had called her. At that moment, without any small talk, Sarah asked Mi Young about her feelings for Lee Goon, concluding that he married Mi Young not out of love, but out of responsibility. If Sarah were in Mi Young's position, she wouldn't be able to endure it. She also believed Lee Goon might feel the same. After that, Sarah asked Mi Young to keep this meeting a secret from Lee Goon. As they were about to leave, Mi Young and Daniel saw Sarah being slapped by her mother for continually chasing after Lee Goon, who was already married. Meanwhile, Lee Goon was worried about Mi Young, who hadn't come home yet. It turned out, she had been with Daniel since the afternoon and had fallen asleep at the cafe. When he saw his wife come home, Lee Goon's anger was uncontrollable. However, before he could vent, Mi Young hugged him first, leaving him speechless. Since Daniel started getting closer to Mi Young, Lee Goon had been a bit jealous. As colleagues, they were very compatible. However, beyond that, they didn't like each other. Lee Goon even asked Daniel to stay away from his wife. On the other hand, Mi Young felt increasingly burdened by Lee Goon's kindness, especially after learning that the money to build her mother's restaurant came from him. Her mother, unaware of this, was seen scolding Mi Young's brother-in-law for accepting such a large sum of money from her son-in-law. Because of this, Mi Young felt unworthy of receiving all this, believing Sarah should be in her place. At the same time, Sarah was still loved Lee Goon very much, as evidenced by the cufflink gift and the letter written by her found in Lee Goon's wardrobe. The next day, the company held its annual sponsored charity auction. As the wife of the heir to Jiangyin Chemicals, Mi Young attended but did not donate anything as she was already represented by Lee Goon. Daniel, who had started a partnership with the company, was also invited, and he escorted Mi Young into the room. At the same time, many items were auctioned, but none interested Lee Goon. Suddenly, an item was auctioned that Mi Young seemed to recognize. Unfortunately, the attendees laughed at the item, considering it meaningless. After that, the bidding started at 10,000 won, and the item turned out to be a cup with a picture of Gaedong, the baby in Mi Young's womb. After it was secretly stolen by Lee Young's mother, and Daniel immediately bid 1 million won for it. This made Mi Young feel embarrassed because the bid was too high. Not stopping there, Daniel also went up to the podium and explained that although the cup might seem strange, it had its own charm. He mentioned that there was an interesting philosophy behind it, and he considered the Gaedong cup to be a valuable piece of art. Not wanting to be outdone by Daniel, after he stepped down from the podium, Lee Goon also spoke, saying he knew the artist personally. Lee Goon stated that the person was very sincere and capable of creating deeply touching works. Unexpectedly, more people began bidding on the Gaedong cup until Daniel demonstrated their strength by bidding even higher, until the cup eventually went to Lee Goon for 30 million won. Because of this, Mi Young was not just embarrassed but felt she couldn't show her face at the event. She then walked out of the room without a second thought, and Lee Goon immediately followed his wife. Mi Young didn't want Lee Goon to be too kind to her, as she feared it would make her greedy. She also wasn't sure she could have both Gaedong and her husband. To her, having both was an impossible dream, and Mi Young realized she was an uninvited guest in Lee Goon's life. She felt she had experienced enough happiness and now wanted to end her relationship with him. However, Lee Goon told her that she was being selfish for not considering his feelings. If their relationship ended, his heart would feel empty and in pain. Unfortunately, Lee Goon's kindness would only make her forget the reality that they were destined to part. If he continued, Mi Young feared she would never want to leave his side. Without responding to her words, Lee Goon suddenly kissed Mi Young on the lips to stop her from talking too much. Lee Goon said there was nothing impossible about Mi Young wanting to have him. Especially now, he started to feel something indescribable when he was with her. Clearly, Lee Goon was happy and didn't want to lose his wife. Meanwhile, an article about their love story was published in the newspaper. If they gained popularity, they could become a national couple. Unlike Lee Young, who supported their relationship, his mother wanted Lee Goon and Mi Young to separate as soon as possible. Secretly, she entered the couple's room and found Lee Goon's private space. At that moment, she discovered their divorce papers lying on the table. Seeing this, Lee Young's mother eyes sparkled with the same joy as finding a treasure, and she immediately gave the divorce papers to the elders' representative to use them as a tool to remove Lee Goon. On the other hand, Lee Goon and Mi Young went to the hospital for a routine pregnancy checkup, and they were delighted to see the ultrasound results and their baby's growth. They were so happy that they decided to go shopping for baby necessities, bought milk bottles, dolls, and matching family outfits. After shopping, they went home to prepare the nursery. That night, Lee Goon and Mi Young talked about their birthdays, which surprisingly were on the same date. Apparently, Lee Goon had never celebrated his birthday, while Mi Young often celebrated alone because her family was too busy with the restaurant. This year, Mi Young wanted to spend her birthday with Lee Goon. Knowing that Lee Goon also wanted a cup similar to their baby's, Mi Young painted one for him. The result turned out to be a very charismatic painting, so much so that it made Daniel envious. However, their happiness didn't last long. That morning, an article about Lee Goon having a contract marriage spread in the newspaper. This was, of course, the doing of Lee Young's mother. This scandal then caused the elders to confront Lee Goon for an explanation. It turned out that this was the first time Chairman Wang heard about the contract marriage, and she was very shocked. Moreover, the article mentioned that Mi Young was trading her baby for money. Not only was Chairman Wang angry, but Mi Young's mother, who also read the article, felt the same. Mi Young's mother immediately went to Lee Goon's house and tried to take her daughter away. However, Mi Young refused because she loved Lee Goon very much. Hearing his wife's words, Lee Goon wanted to hold her back, but he also scolded the elders who always mocked Mi Young. Regardless of the reasons, Mi Young's mother insisted on taking her daughter away, as she couldn't accept that Mi Young was being mistreated. Unfortunately, Lee Goon's attempts to apologize were ignored. Additionally, Mi Young's mother was very concerned about her daughter's well-being, knowing her gentle heart always bottled up problems. She didn't want her daughter to suffer any longer. Meanwhile, Chairman Wang was devastated after hearing the news about her grandson. This made Lee Goon feel guilty about the potential consequences for his grandmother. Throughout the day, Lee Goon looked gloomy, worrying his manager, especially since the company was not doing well due to the news. Manager's tack words seemed to go unheard as Lee Goon only thought about how that day was supposed to be the day he and Mi-young celebrated their birthdays together. Not wanting to miss the moment, Lee Goon devised a plan to escape from the reporters waiting outside the house with the help of manager Tak and lawyer Hong. After that, Lee Goon donned a school uniform and charged through the reporters. A similar situation occurred at Mi-young's mother's restaurant. With the help of Lee Young and Ji-yun, Mi-young managed to escape to meet Lee Goon. At that moment, Mi-young waited for her husband near a shopping center. But unexpectedly, manager Tak was informed by the company that an emergency board meeting was being held to discuss Lee Goon's dismissal. Due to the scandal, the elders wanted to remove him as the heir. Not wanting his boss to be dismissed, manager Tak turned back so that Lee Goon wouldn't miss the meeting. However, Lee Goon asked him to stop because he wanted to meet Mi-young. Despite his refusal, manager Tak tried to hold him back, leading to a confrontation between the two. Suddenly, Lee Goon felt dizzy and fainted, so manager Tak immediately took him to the hospital as his condition was critical and he needed an MRI. Meanwhile, Mi-young continued to wait for Lee Goon in the same spot. At the same time, Daniel saw her from a distance and felt sorry for her. He then called Mi-young and got an answer after she lied, saying she was with Lee Goon. Because of this, Daniel couldn't bear to see Mi-young continuously hurt by Lee Goon. In the end, he approached Mi-young to give her the birthday present she intended to give Lee Goon. In the midst of the crisis, Se-ra decided to quit ballet and return to Korea after learning about Lee Goon's contract marriage from a friend, as she felt that she still had hope. Meanwhile, the emergency board meeting to dismiss Lee Goon was cancelled because he didn't attend, as he was unconscious in the hospital while trying to meet Mi-young. When he woke up, the first person Lee Goon saw was Se-ra. It turned out Lee Goon had amnesia, and his memory stopped at the moment when he left for Macau to propose to Se-ra. His current condition was a symptom of Huntington's disease, a genetic disorder that also affected Lee Goon's father. Previously, Lee Goon had regular health checks to anticipate the onset of the disease, but the doctors were not yet sure if he had the same disease, as they would need to observe him for 1 to 2 days. Meanwhile, Mi-young, who received news that Lee Goon had been hospitalized, hurried to visit him. Accompanied by Daniel, she arrived near Lee Goon's hospital room. However, Lee Goon appeared different from usual, as he was very affectionate with Se-ra, even ignoring Mi-young completely. As he passed by her, Lee Goon remembered Mi-young as the woman who helped him search for his ring that had rolled away in the shopping center. The next day, Se-ra explained Lee Goon's condition to Mi-young, saying that forcing him to remember could worsen his condition. So Se-ra asked Mi-young to avoid Lee Goon for a while. This left Mi-young feeling conflicted, but she had to hide it from her mother, as she still believed that her husband's memory would return someday. On the other hand, Lee Goon was confused because the nurse said it was currently July, while he remembered it being May. Knowing this, Se-ra then explained that he had amnesia and had lost his memory for the past 3 months. Because Se-ra was in Korea, Lee Goon concluded that he had proposed to her in Macau. At that time, Lee Goon asked about a ring among his belongings, but Se-ra denied it was hers. Not only Mi-young's mother, but Lee Goon's condition was also hidden from Chairman Wang because she was ill and refused to eat. Chairman Wang wanted to look for Mi-young and meet her mother. However, the doctor forbade her and advised her to stay home during her recovery. The next morning, without knocking, Lee Goon entered the doctor's office. Coincidentally, Mi-young was there asking about his condition, afraid of making him suspicious since her medical records were displayed on the screen. The doctor said Mi-young was his secretary, but Lee Goon didn't remember when she became his secretary. After that, Mi-young searched for a reason to make Lee Goon believe her. When he asked about the ring, Mi-young claimed it was hers. However, Lee Goon didn't believe her and said he would return it once his memory was back. Unfortunately, Mi-young's actions to get close to Lee Goon made Se-ra angry, even though Mi-young's intention was merely to take care of and accompany Lee Goon because, after all, he was the father of her unborn child. Meanwhile, Se-ra didn't want her efforts to be in vain because she had left ballet just for Lee Goon, so she didn't want her sacrifice to be ruined by Mi-young. At the same time, Lee Goon found a contact on his phone named Snail Gaedong. When he called, the person was Mi-young, who had introduced herself as his secretary. Because of this, Lee Goon asked Mi-young to do several tasks, including bringing documents for him to sign and buying him various snacks. When Mi-young arrived at the hospital, Lee Goon invited her to a cafe. After he knew that she was lying about her identity, it turned out he had read the article about their contract marriage and the rumors about their one-night stand had ended in pregnancy. So Lee Goon asked if Mi Young took the alimony mentioned in the divorce papers. In the past 3 months, many things had happened, but Mi Young wouldn't force Lee Goon to remember. From this information, Lee Goon concluded that they had a contract marriage and had never loved each other from the start. What saddened him the most was when he doubted the child Mi Young was carrying, even though it was indeed the result of their relationship. Upon returning home, Chairman Wang, unaware of Lee Goon's condition, demanded that her grandson find Mi Young immediately. If he didn't, she would refuse to acknowledge him. At that moment, Manager Tak, who was accompanying him, reminded Lee Goon that things shouldn't be like this, as he shouldn't make Mi Young suffer any more than she already had. After his manager left, Lee Goon entered his room and he noticed that his room looked different. There was a pregnancy storybook, a wedding photo with Mi Young, and neatly arranged baby items. Everything in front of him seemed unfamiliar, and he also didn't even recognize Daniel, who hoped that Lee Goon's memory would return soon so he could realize how wonderful Mi Young was before it was too late. Not long after, Lee Goon's confusion peaked, especially during lunch with Sarah when he saw a snail dish. It stirred strange feelings in him because Snail was Mi Young's nickname. Suddenly, a woman from the pregnancy class approached their table. She was surprised to see Lee Goon with another woman whom she knew wasn't his wife. While Lee Goon was still confused, another woman from the baby supply store recognized him. Because of this, Sarah was annoyed by their comments and left the restaurant. She then stated that she wanted Lee Goon to resolve all the issues, as she had given up ballet and everything dear to her for Lee Goon. She was even willing to raise his child with Mi Young, but for some reason, Lee Goon was still filled with doubt. That doubt grew even more when Lee Goon found the Gaedong cup and the baby clothes he had sewn in the pregnancy class. He also read Mi Young's pregnancy journal and unconsciously shed tears. The next morning, Sarah was already waiting in Lee Goon's office, and she looked for their photo on the desk but couldn't find it. At the same time, Lee Goon helped her search in the drawer and found candies that Mi Young had given him. Suddenly, a memory resurfaced, and he realized that Sarah didn't come to Macau when he intended to propose to her. Feeling like he had forgotten something important, Lee Goon left Sarah and drove aimlessly. At that moment, piece by piece, the puzzle started to come together. When all his memories finally returned, Lee Goon cried and realized he had hurt Mi Young, feeling deeply guilty. Meanwhile, Mi Young, who was with Daniel, said that she would patiently wait for Lee Goon's memory to return because she had great faith that her husband would recover. While Daniel himself was planning to go to France next week, and he had handed over the cafe to a new manager because he had lost hope of finding his sister. It turned out, Daniel wanted to move on and start anew. Sometime later, Mi Young attended the pregnancy class alone, where the instructor asked all participants to write beautiful words for their children so they could see them when they grew up. While Mi Young was thinking about what words Lee Goon might write, he unexpectedly showed up with a smile. Before going to the pregnancy class, Lee Goon had met with the doctor to ask about his illness. Unfortunately, the doctor couldn't confirm anything yet as everything was still in the symptom stage. At that moment, Lee Goon asked Mi Young to write a message for their baby. With her words were very realistic because Mi Young wanted Gaedong to be able to face the harshness of the world in the future. For Mi Young, Lee Goon is a good husband, but she feels that Lee Goon has never made her sad. One day, Lee Goon hopes Mi Young will not rely too much on others, while Mi Young hopes that his memory will recover soon. If they can be together again, Mi Young wants Lee Goon to rely on her. After that, she gave him the cup she had painted with Lee Goon's face, as she didn't get a chance to give it to him the previous day. Lee Goon was moved when he received it and his memory actually had already returned, but Lee Goon kept it a secret from her because he didn't want to hurt her feelings. Not long after, Lee Goon was watching a documentary about people whose partners had the same illness. For Lee Goon, being with him would only make Mi Young suffer, so he decided to distance himself from everyone around him, including Sarah. After that, he also asked Sarah for a breakup because he would eventually leave her too. However, Sarah couldn't accept her decision, but she couldn't imagine her days without Lee Goon, which would certainly cause her great pain. Additionally, Lee Goon altered the contents of the divorce agreement, where he tore up the revised document and asked lawyer Hong to draft a new one. Hearing this, his lawyer saw it as a will because Lee Goon granted full custody of the child to Mi Young. Lee Goon also bequeathed his assets to his wife and child, in case he passed away in the future. Meanwhile, Sarah, unwilling to separate from Lee Goon, met Mi Young at a cafe. She then informed Mi Young that Lee Goon had changed the divorce agreement and would soon end his relationship with her. However, the contents of the divorce papers that Sarah showed were entirely different from what Lee Goon intended, causing Mi Young to feel overwhelming disappointment. Moreover, Lee Goon also returned the Gaedong cup and the wedding ring to Mi Young, indirectly indicating a farewell. Despite the divorce, Lee Goon wouldn't contest the custody of the child, and he would also financially support the child into adulthood. Lee Goon hoped that wherever Mi Young was, she would be healthy and live happily. Mi Young cherished the moments they shared and was grateful for everything Lee Goon had given her, marking this as their final meeting. However, Mi Young wasn't sure if there was any happiness left because she had used it all up with Lee Goon. Not long after, Mi Young then walked across the sidewalk with a troubled mind. Suddenly, she recalled some things Lee Goon had said that he shouldn't have remembered if he were truly amnesiac. Because this, she concluded that Lee Goon's memory had actually returned, and her steps halted in the middle of the street. She then turned around, calling out Lee Goon's name, but he didn't respond. Unexpectedly, a car hit Mi Young, causing the Gaedong cup to shatter. Seeing this, Lee Goon quickly turned and rushed his wife to the hospital, where Mi Young's condition was critical, yet she remained concerned about the baby. Unfortunately, Mi Young needed immediate surgery because her intestines had ruptured, but the operation posed a risk to the fetus. In this situation, Lee Goon had to choose between saving his wife or their child. Ultimately, Lee Goon agreed to proceed with the surgery. The next day when Mi Young woke up, the first thing she asked about was her baby. Learning that the baby didn't survive, Mi Young was devastated and fainted, feeling guilty because she believed it should have been her in the accident. There was nothing Lee Goon could do except cry and repeatedly apologize in front of the sleeping Mi Young. Meanwhile, Mi Young received painting supplies from Daniel, who wanted her to draw something to heal her emotional wound. After that, Mi Young drew Gaedong, now happily in heaven. After being discharged from the hospital, Mi Young's mother didn't take her home because there was a very young niece there. Her mother feared Mi Young would become more sorrowful, so Mi Young stayed at Ji Yun's house for a while. After recovering, Mi Young went to see Lee Goon at his office. At that moment, she asked why he had lied to her, even though his memory had returned. Additionally, Mi Young wanted to start over with Lee Goon, but he refused as his illness would become a burden for Mi Young. After that, Mi Young signed the divorce papers and returned Lee Goon's ring. She then went to Lee Goon's house to pack her belongings. When she found her pregnancy journal, Mi Young remembered Gaedong and cried again. The next day, not wanting to see Mi Young wallow in sorrow, Daniel offered to take her to France to study art, because it wasn't a bad idea to start a new chapter. On the other hand, it wasn't just Mi Young who was grieving. Lee Goon also felt empty and secretly cried for Gaedong. Additionally, their relationship had ended, marked by Mi Young's mother paying off her brother-in-law's debt to Lee Goon for buying the restaurant. At that moment, Lee Goon wanted to see Mi Young one last time, but unfortunately, she was about to leave for France to start her new life. Several years passed, and everything had changed. Mi Young then returned to Korea with a slightly different appearance after she had become an artist and now went by the name Ellie Kim. At that moment, Mi Young was preparing her works, and her relationship with Daniel had grown closer. Meanwhile, Lee Goon had also changed his hairstyle and gained confidence after the doctors declared him free from the disease. Additionally, Lee Goon and Sarah were now ballet teachers at a school for friends. That morning, for the first time, Mi Young saw Lee Goon after being apart for so long. At that moment, Lee Goon was at a cafe with Sarah. What Mi Young saw was Lee Goon putting a necklace around Sarah's neck. Meanwhile, Mi Young's mother opened a restaurant, and Lee Goon often visited her to ask for food late at night. The relationship between the former mother-in-law and son-in-law was very good and close. Like a son, Lee Goon was not allowed to pay for his meals by Mi Young's mother. Instead, he gave her the latest shampoo product launched by his company. However, Lee Goon forgot to hand it over and turned back before getting a quarter of the way home. Upon arriving, Lee Goon found the restaurant already closed. Unbeknownst to him, Mi Young's mother had already gone home with Mi Young and Daniel after their visit, where they had a meal together at Mi Young's mother's house. On the other hand, Chairman Wong, tired of seeing Lee Goon always returning home without a partner, urged him to go on blind dates. Previously, she had been trying to find a match for Lee Goon with the help of Ji Yun, who had now become a matchmaker. When Ji-yeon asked about the ideal daughter-in-law's criteria, it turned out that all the qualities were present in Mi-young. Chairman Wang's thoughts seemed to align with Lee Goon's, leading him to reject the idea of blind dates. Because his feelings for Mi-young had not changed, where Lee Goon still kept the birthday gift cup from her and Gaedong's baby crib. He knew Mi-young had become a successful artist, and her work was now viral in Korea. Lee Goon also heard that Mi-young was planning an exhibition abroad. Because of this, Lee Goon asked his grandmother for permission to stay out of town for a day or two, under the pretext of a business trip. In reality, he wanted to see his ex-wife. Meanwhile, Lee Goon's attitude towards Lee Young and his mother had softened, but Lee Young's mother became greedy, wanting her son to get another promotion to marry into wealth. She then sought help from the elder's representative. However, she was rejected because over the past 3 years, Lee Goon's hard work had been exemplary, and no elder dared oppose him. After arriving in the city, Lee Goon booked a hotel. Initially, he was hesitant and nervous about meeting Mi-young, but mustered the courage to attend the exhibition. At that moment, the exhibition was a success, and during an interview, Mi-young mentioned that she created her work for women who had experienced trauma because she had felt it in the past. Someone had advised her that painting could heal a wounded soul, and that person was none other than Daniel. Meanwhile, Mi-young didn't know about Lee Goon's arrival, especially since he was sneaking around. Seeing a bouquet from Daniel, Lee Goon decided to order an even larger bouquet. Upon entering the exhibition area, Lee Goon found a painting of a child titled Longing. It was the only child painting created by Mi-young, making it very precious. After learning the painting's philosophy, Lee Goon decided to buy it. When Mi-young saw that the child painting was labeled as sold, she asked her team about it since it wasn't for sale. Unfortunately, Lee Goon had already paid in full, so she had to contact the buyer personally. At the hotel, Mi-young sent a message to Lee Goon to cancel the painting's purchase, but he refused because he liked it so much. At that moment, he used the name Lee Young-ja and arranged to meet at the hotel bar, where Mi-young planned to celebrate the exhibition's success there with her team. Not knowing Mi-young wouldn't come alone, Lee Goon hid when she arrived. He then observed and eavesdropped on their conversation from a distance. What annoyed Lee Goon was Daniel's presence, especially when he tried to kiss his ex-wife. To prevent this, Lee Goon sent a message as Lee Young-ja, saying he had arrived at the meeting location. However, Mi-young assuming that Lee Young-ja was a woman, so she questioned every woman passing by. At the same time, Lee Goon could only watch her from afar, unable to approach. In the end, he sent a message to cancel the meeting. Through a message, Mi-young said that the painting Lee Goon bought was her first painting, thus it held special meaning. And for her, that painting was half of her soul, holding memories that she could never forget. Therefore, Mi-young would wait until Lee Goon changed his mind and was willing to meet. Upon returning to her hotel, Mi-young hurried to rest. While packing, someone suddenly banged on her door forcefully and tried to use an access card but failed. Mi-young was scared because it seemed the person was drunk, and she immediately called security to remove the intruder. While waiting for security, Mi-young grabbed her high heels to use as a weapon. She then opened the door and intended to hit the person with her shoe, but instead, she fell on top of him. It turned out that the man was Lee Goon, who had been banging on her door while drunk. After that, Lee Goon collapsed, and Mi-young helped him inside. When Lee Goon woke up, he found a note from Mi-young asking him to leave before she returned. At that moment, she also expressed her hope not to meet Lee Goon again. Mi-young then recounted her encounter with Lee Goon to Daniel. Coincidentally, Daniel had seen Lee Goon standing in front of her room that morning. If Lee Goon was no longer significant to her, Mi-young wouldn't need to explain it to him. As Lee Goon was checking out of the hotel, Daniel suddenly approached him. At that moment, Lee Goon immediately thanked him for taking care of and protecting Mi-young. However, Daniel did it not for Lee Goon, but because he now loved and cherished Mi-young with all his heart. Throughout their acquaintance, Daniel and Mi-young complimented each other. Whether Mi-young was happy or sad, Daniel was always by her side, and vice versa. Like today, when Daniel received news that his long-lost sister had been found, Daniel arranged to meet his sister at a cafe. The reunion happened quickly and became an emotional moment. Not wanting to ruin the moment, Mi-young left them alone. Meanwhile, Lee Young saw a photo of Mi-young on the internet, where his mother couldn't believe that the innocent and naive woman like Mi-young had become so famous. Lee Young missed her dearly, as did Lee Goon's grandmother, who was also there. Mi Young's fame was undeniable. The first day of the exhibition was very crowded, making her very happy. At that time, Mi Young remembered that the painting purchased by Lee Goon had to be shipped the next day. She was still trying to get the buyer to reconsider canceling the order. Unfortunately, the buyer always found excuses not to meet. Because of this, Mi Young assumed it was because the buyer had a child, so she made a new painting depicting a mother and child as a replacement. However, the purchased painting was still sent to the address provided, which was the house of Manager Tak's mother. When the painting arrived, Mi Young sent a message to the buyer, saying she would be returning to France soon and awaited the buyer's decision urgently. On the other hand, Lee Young and Manager Tak planned to boost product sales by involving female artists' works. They believed visuals were crucial, so they suggested several artists, one of whom was Mi Young. However, Lee Goon firmly rejected the idea. At that moment, Manager Tak still provided profiles and portfolios of the artists. He then reminded Lee Goon to separate personal life from work when making decisions. A few days later, Lee Young arranged to meet Mi Young because he missed her terribly. Lee Young then admired Mi Young for becoming a successful and confident woman. Unexpectedly, Lee Goon also arrived and he was annoyed, feeling trapped by Lee Young, who seemed unbothered. Lee Young even said that Mi Young was a good fit for their company project and then left them to talk formally. However, before they could discuss business, Mi Young had already declined the offer. She also suggested that they no longer needed to stay in touch, as Mi Young was not the same person she used to be, and neither was Lee Goon. Although Lee Goon insisted that he was no longer interested in Mi Young, in his heart, he disagreed. He was still captivated by her beauty. The next day, Daniel invited Mi Young to lunch with his younger sister. Before entering the restaurant, Mi Young saw Daniel's sister talking to a credit agent who had helped him find his sister. It turned out that they were working together to deceive Daniel, so Mi Young couldn't stand by and do nothing. While Daniel was on a phone call, Mi Young confronted his sister. After she felt that the woman was not Daniel's real sister, Mi Young couldn't bear to see Daniel being deceived and hurt because he had worked so hard to find his sister. But the woman was exploiting his sincerity. Hearing this, the woman pretending to be Daniel's sister became angry and tried to hit Mi Young, but a glass she was holding was thrown and shattered right in front of Daniel. At the same time, Daniel had overheard their conversation and he felt foolish for trusting the wrong person. Daniel then went to the place where he last saw his sister when they were children and playing together. At that time, his sister wanted ice cream, and coincidentally, there was an ice cream vendor nearby. When Daniel returned with the ice cream, his sister had disappeared. After everything he had been through, Daniel decided to stop searching for his sister, as he believed she was healthy and happy somewhere. Now, Daniel wanted to have his own family, and Mi Young interpreted this as a desire to get married. Coincidentally, that day, before Mi Young left for France, Daniel was going to tell her something important, where she was certain Daniel would propose. Anxious and preoccupied, Mi Young confided in the buyer of the child painting, who was Lee Goon. Without hesitation, Lee Goon advised her to consider everything carefully. The day arrived, and Mi Young met Daniel at a theater event. Additionally, she also entrusted the child painting to the buyer because she was leaving for France the next day. Knowing this, Lee Goon couldn't stay idle, so he decided to return the painting immediately and ask about Mi Young's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Daniel blamed the projector and started drawing. He then recounted their first meeting and how they had reached this point, until Mi Young reminisced about the beautiful moments. At the end of the story, Daniel approached Mi Young with flowers, and her suspicion was confirmed as Daniel proposed to her. At the same time, Lee Goon could only watch Mi Young from a distance, but she was still unsure about her feelings for Daniel, where she couldn't tell if it was love or just gratitude for his companionship during her lowest times. As a result, Mi Young declined his proposal, but Daniel would not give up. From now on, he would pursue Mi Young and patiently wait until she was ready. On the other hand, Lee Goon, who initially wanted to return the painting, changed his mind, as he couldn't bear to hear Mi Young's response to Daniel's proposal. Because of this, Lee Goon didn't dare approach his ex-wife again, even though Manager Tak supported him in getting back with her, especially since his illness was gradually improving. However, Lee Goon was still worried that his genetic disease might relapse at any time. Thus, it was better for him to suppress his feelings and act coldly towards Mi Young. Not long after, it was the anniversary of Gaedong's death. When Lee Goon arrived at the accident scene, Mi Young was already there. Both then recalled the past events that left emotional scars. Yet, Lee Gun was still hiding it. Mi Young then asked Lee Gun to live freely and forget about her and Gaedong. After all, Lee Gun already gave up the custody of their baby. Unlike Mi Young, despite living a new life, she would never forget Gaedong, not even for a second. That night, Lee Gun sent a message to Mi Young as the painting buyer. At that moment, they talked about many things like siblings, until Mi Young mentioned that her plans had changed, and she would stay in Seoul for another 6 months before returning to Paris. Not only with Mi Young, but Lee Gun also didn't want to have more than a friendly relationship with Se-ra. This made Se-ra's mother angry, and she forcefully entered Lee Gun's office. At that moment, Se-ra's mother said that Se-ra always cried after meeting Lee Gun, accusing him of playing with her daughter's feelings and suggesting they end their friendship. On the other hand, the cooperation contract between Mi Young and Jangin Chemicals was ready. Lawyer Hong then handed the document to Mi Young for her to sign, and he also mentioned that if Mi Young needed funds, she could use the allowance from Lee Gun. However, Mi Young asked him not to discuss the allowance anymore. Afterward, Mi Young went to her mother's restaurant, but Lee Gun was already there. Seeing this, Mi Young then took Lee Gun outside and told him to stop bothering her family. While Lee Gun claimed he just wanted to eat her mother's cooking and had no other intentions, Mi Young then questioned why she was chosen for the cooperation with the company, where Lee Gun asked her that he couldn't decide on his own since the company recommended her. However, if Mi Young rejected the cooperation, she needed to provide a clear reason. Without it, Lee Gun would consider her unprofessional. Eventually, Mi Young agreed to sign the contract on the condition that Manager Tak be the contact person during the cooperation process. Because of this, Mi Young became more assertive and strong. So Lee Gun secretly admired her transformation. Meanwhile, Daniel was seen visiting Mi Young's studio after she didn't answer her phone. It turned out Daniel was worried because when Mi Young worked, she often forgot everything, including her meals. The next day, Daniel invited Mi Young for a picnic where he also knew that she was cooperating with Lee Gun's company. Instead of being angry, Daniel supported her. With the support from her closest people, Mi Young became more enthusiastic, and she visited the company's garden where ingredients for products were grown. At the same time, Lee Gun also went there to check things out and get some fresh air. He then saw Mi Young taking pictures of various plants for her design work. So he followed her every step until he reached the area near the pond while Mi Young went in another direction to photograph other plants. At that moment, Mi Young's drawing papers were blown away by the wind. So Lee Gun picked them up one by one and put them back in place, all the while keeping an eye on Mi Young to avoid being caught. However, Mi Young suddenly heard a sound when Lee Gun was sneaking around. She then looked for the source of the sound, forcing Lee Gun to mimic a bird's call. When he turned around, Mi Young was standing right behind him and accused him of stalking her, reminding him that they should not meet outside the company. Suddenly, it started raining, and Lee Gun took the initiative to cover Mi Young with his blazer. They ran to a shelter, unintentionally enjoying the moment. While still raining, they were trapped in the shelter because they couldn't get down from the hill, as the bridge at the bottom would be flooded during the rain. Because of this, there was no other option but to stay in the shelter. Unfortunately, the situation worsened when the power went out. To pass the time, Lee Gun shared many stories and remarked that the sound of rain was very calming. However, amid the conversation, Mi Young insisted on leaving the hill and going home, but Lee Gun persuaded her to stay until the rain stopped. Suddenly, Mi Young was struck with a fever, and her face turned pale. But she didn't want Lee Gun to worry too much, hoping they would remain separated since they no longer had any relationship. As she was leaving the shelter, Mi Young fainted from the high fever, and Lee Gun immediately took care of her to bring down the fever. The next morning, Mi Young left while Lee Gun was still asleep, leaving a thank you note and a farewell letter for him. Meanwhile, at the studio, Daniel was waiting for her with concern. Upon arriving, Mi Young told Daniel everything truthfully. Not wanting Mi Young to fall ill, Daniel suggested they exercise. So they started by buying comfortable sports shoes from a store and wore them on the way home. Unbeknownst to them, Lee Gun was watching from his car. That night, Daniel overheard an argument between Sarah and her mother. Coincidentally, he had bought an apartment near her apartment, making them neighbors. It turned out, Sarah's mother wanted her daughter to return to the ballet world, but Sarah was more comfortable with her current job. She also scolded her mother for visiting Lee Gun again. After Sarah's mother left, Daniel approached Sarah, who was crying, and invited her to have ice cream to lift her spirits. At that moment, Daniel asked about her relationship with Lee Goon. However, Sarah didn't want to discuss her personal matters with him. Because of this, Daniel felt the conversation was still related to him, since he had proposed to Mi-young. On the other hand, Lee Goon was seen forbade Lee Young and manager Tak from delivering the documents Mi-young needed to her studio, as taking out the company's confidential documents could get them imprisoned. It was better to invite Mi-young to the office and let her conduct her research without taking the documents out. However, this was merely an excuse, as Lee Goon actually wanted to be near Mi-young. While Mi-young worked at the office, Lee Goon brought her health drinks and vitamins. He also waited in the room, but Mi-young felt uncomfortable and asked him to leave. Besides providing health drinks, Lee Goon made sure she could leave the office safely. At the same time, Lee Goon also monitored her through the CCTV and asked the staff to turn on the lights in every room Mi-young would pass. In the end, he also ordered a taxi for her. Lee Goon's care didn't stop there, because the next day, he bought food from Mi-young's mother's restaurant. This time, Lee Goon wanted the food to be packed so he could enjoy it with Mi-young at the office. When he arrived at the office, Mi-young was already asleep, and Lee Goon immediately approached her until she woke up. After that, they opened the food that he had bought, and Mi-young realized the food was from her mother's restaurant. She then got angry because she had warned him not to visit her mother anymore. However, Lee Goon didn't want to listen and defended himself, saying he went there not with any hidden motive, but because he genuinely liked Mi-young's mother's cooking and considered her like his own mother. Frustrated, Mi-young texted the painting buyer, almost getting Lee Goon caught when his phone rang. Because of this, he quickly ran to the bathroom to avoid suspicion. The next day, Mi-young received a painting she had made in Paris, which depicted a man surrounded by cherry candies. When she was stuck with her work, Mi-young exchanged messages with the painting buyer. At that moment, she wanted to remember her initial intention for entering this field, but her efforts were still not going smoothly. Hearing this, the painting buyer inspired her by saying, "There is a girl who lives in the heart of every woman." With that sentence, Mi-young gained enlightenment, and the painting buyer encouraged her to complete her work well. Finally, Mi-young finished her work, and manager Tak invited her to the office to meet Lee Goon, who wanted to thank her. Not long after, in the lobby, Mi-young met Sarah, who initially wanted to invite Lee Goon for lunch, but he declined. They then went to a cafe before Mi-young attended Lee Goon's invitation. At that moment, Sarah expressed concern about Mi-young's collaboration with Jiangyan Chemicals. However, Mi-young explained that she and Lee Goon only met for business purposes. After meeting Sarah, Mi-young met with Lee Goon, where he admired Mi-young's work, especially after showing it to all the involved employees. Everyone was amazed and confident that the advertisement would attract women. When Mi-young was leaving, Lee Goon approached her to invite her to dinner. But she immediately declined because she would be having dinner with her family at home, remembering it was Mi-ja's birthday. After that, for the last time, Lee Goon expressed his satisfaction with Mi-young's performance, making their parting quite emotional. On her way to her family's house, Mi-young realized she had forgotten the gift, so she called Daniel to inform him that she would be a little late. When she went upstairs, Mi-young saw Lee Goon standing there, holding a painting she knew had been bought by someone named Yong-ja. It was finally revealed that Lee Goon was actually Yong-ja, and he had planned to return the painting to be with Mi-young. This greatly disappointed Mi-young, because she couldn't understand why Lee Goon would deceive her. Hearing this, Lee Goon admitted that he was Lee Yong-ja, the person who had bought the painting. This fact made Mi-young feel even more betrayed, as she hadn't been able to forget Lee Goon for 3 years, only to find out that he had been playing with her feelings. All the sweet words Lee Goon had sent as Yong-ja were false, as he had only been acting to make Mi-young believe that Yong-ja was real. After that, Mi-young felt trapped by Lee Goon, who believed she hadn't changed because she was still easily deceived. Lee Goon's cruel words made Mi-young very emotional, but what hurt her the most was when he said that the painting of the little boy was just an ordinary painting and had no meaning. It was difficult for Lee Goon to say this, especially since the painting was very precious to him. It turned out, every night, Lee Goon would gaze at and talk to the painting as if it were alive. He also sat in a daze on the stairs of Mi-young's studio, unaware that Daniel was watching him, after he had come to pick up Mi-young because she hadn't come home yet. On the other hand, Lee Goon's words deeply wounded Mi-young, leading her to decide to return to Paris to avoid seeing him again. She then shared this plan with Daniel, also revealing that the person who bought the Gadong painting was Lee Goon. In the afternoon, Ji-Yun visited Mi-young's studio, where she mentioned that Chairman Wang had signed Lee Goon up with a matchmaking agency she managed, hoping he would find a wife like Mi-young. This convinced Mi-young that Lee Goon didn't have a girlfriend, and she confirmed with Ji-Yun that Lee Goon had been single since their divorce. Even his grandmother was worried because he hadn't remarried, disproving the assumption that Lee Goon and Sarah were dating. It turned out Lee Goon and Sarah had always been friends, but that day he was decided to end that friendship. He assumed Sarah was tired of maintaining their friendship, so he planned to end it. This decision troubled Sarah, who invited Daniel for a drink and confessed that Lee Goon had rejected her. Sarah then explained everything to Daniel, including her suspicion that Lee Goon still loved Mi-young. After that, Daniel was also shocked to learn that Lee Goon had a chronic illness and had left Mi-young to avoid burdening her. The next day, while packing, Mi-young found a letter hidden in the corner of the Gadong painting's frame, which Lee Goon had returned. The letter indicated that he had lied to her. Despite claiming the painting was ordinary, the letter expressed how he would always cherish it. However, some of the words in the letter didn't match what he had said, so Mi-young decided to confront Lee Goon directly. While returning the money for the painting, which Lee Goon didn't accept, Mi-young showed him the letter. She then asked if the letter was sincere or just another lie, because she needed to know the truth before heading to Paris. However, Lee Goon simply told her to leave. Because of her sudden departure to Paris, Mi-young met with lawyer Hong, where he was curious about why Mi-young and Lee Goon had separated, considering they were such a perfect couple. Mi-young couldn't explain it either, as Lee Goon had abruptly ended their relationship without giving her a reason. After that, there were many things Mi-young learned, one of which was during her meeting with Sarah this time, where Sarah brought up their meeting 3 years ago when she showed Mi-young the divorce papers from Lee Goon. At that moment, Sarah wanted to clarify that those papers were actually fake, and she did that to win Lee Goon's heart back. Before leaving for Paris, Mi-young attended an event titled Women's Advertising Night. During the interview session, she was asked about the process of getting inspiration for the project with Jiang'an Chemicals. Coincidentally, Lee Goon was standing on the steps right in front of her. With determination, Mi-young responded that there was someone she trusted the most who always gave her ideas. She always listened and was comforted by his warm actions. Additionally, she was very grateful to that person, even though they had lost contact, and she was sincere, regardless of what that person thought. Sometime later, while saying goodbye to her mother at the restaurant, Lee Goon suddenly appeared. Mi-young's mother then signaled her to leave immediately, but she asked her to prepare a meal for Lee Goon. After that, they ate at different tables without any communication. After saying goodbye to her mother, Mi-young also planned to visit her child, while Lee Goon could only watch from a distance. The next day, when everything was ready, Mi-young found a recording device in her bag, placed there by lawyer Hong. When she played it, she heard Lee Goon's voice reading his will, revealing that he had kept his illness a secret from Mi-young and planned to give her a studio in Paris. At the same time, Daniel, pretending not to have heard anything, suggested they leave immediately. However, in the middle of the journey, Daniel suddenly turned around because he did not want to live with regret and took Mi-young to Lee Goon's house. It turned out, Daniel wanted Mi-young to find out what her ex-husband had been hiding. Upon arriving at Lee Goon's house, they discovered he had gone to the columbarium to place Gadong's photo next to his mother's. Lee Goon also talked to his deceased mother, admitting he was too afraid to ask Mi-young to stay with him during his illness. While waiting at Lee Goon's house, Mi-young asked his grandmother for permission to wait for his return in his room. Upon entering the room, Mi-young was flooded with memories of their time together. She then entered Lee Goon's private room and saw the neatly stored baby crib and supplies. Mi-young also found Lee Goon's computer, which had a video of him. When she played it, Lee Goon's face appeared, and the video was a reminder for himself whenever he experienced amnesia. Like a diary, Mi-young couldn't bear to watch it because it was so heartbreaking, and she urgently wanted to see Lee Goon. When she left the room, Mi-young saw Lee Goon's grandmother in shock watching television, with a clear broadcast about Lee Goon preparing to hold a press conference. Seeing how worried his grandmother was, knowing that Lee Goon would announce his illness, Mi-young tried to stop him. Besides, Mi-young didn't care that many reporters were waiting outside. She arrived just as Lee Goon announced his illness and his resignation as director. At the same time, Mi-young's presence caught everyone's attention, with all the cameras turning towards her. After that, Mi-young finally understands why Lee Goon ignored her. She then asks Lee-gun not to lie to his conscience if he has never missed her. Unfortunately, Lee-gun loudly instructs manager Tak to escort her out. But Mi-young doesn't want Lee-gun to suffer alone. She also promises never to him because of his illness and believes they can face everything as long as they are together. After that, Mi-young expresses her loves for Lee-gun, and they finally kiss, ignoring the cameras around them. After the press conference, Lee-gun and Mi-young decide to stay at a hotel to discuss their relationship's future. Despite being reminded that Lee-gun's illness is not trivial, Mi-young still wants to be with him. In the hotel room, they enjoy their time together on the bed as they did 3 years ago. Both Mi-young and Lee-gun are more open in expressing their love. The next day, Mi-young intends to ask Lee-gun's grandmother for permission to stay by his side because she doesn't want the man she loves to face his illness alone. However, Lee-gun's grandmother does not approve of the idea, as she had been in her position before with Lee-gun's grandfather, who suffered from the same disease and knows the risks ahead. Fortunately, after sensing Mi-young's sincerity, Lee-gun's grandmother finally gives in and agrees to bless them if Mi-young's mother consents to their reunion. Meanwhile, the board meeting to discuss Lee-gun's resignation is in chaos as the elders argue. Most of them reject the decision because his performance in growing the company has been excellent. When Lee-gun arrives, one elder, who has always wanted to bring him down, asks him to prove his statement at the press conference by stepping down. Hearing this, Lee-gun agrees to resign as president, but only for 3 months to enjoy a vacation. During his absence, the position will be handed over to his grandmother, who was more responsible and competent. Not only Lee-gun, Mi-young also resolves her issues by meeting Daniel at his old cafe. At that moment, she thanks him for everything he has done to help her reach this point. Unfortunately, her heart cannot settle on Daniel, and he accepts this with an open heart, but despite appearing strong, he decided to drinks to forget Mi-young's words. As Se-ra enters the lift, she finds Daniel heavily intoxicated and unable to walk to his apartment. Because of this, Se-ra helps him to his bed, where she accidentally sees a photo of 2 children on a table by the bed. Seeing this, her expression changes as if recalling something. Meanwhile, as a member of Lee-gun's family with the potential to inherit the same disease, Lee-young undergoes a health check. Although the doctor declares he's healthy, he convinces himself he has early amnesia symptoms and tells his mother. However, Lee-young's mother denies that her son has memory loss like Lee-gun, revealing that he is not Lee-gun's father's biological son. Shocked by the long-hidden secret, Lee-young runs out of the house, unable to accept this reality. At the same time, Lee-gun and Mi-young arrive, where he clarifies what is happening, while Mi-young tries to catch up with Lee-young. Lee-young's mother then confesses the truth to Lee-gun and apologizes for hiding the fact that they are not biological brothers. She also hands over Lee-gun's father's diary, which contains his feelings as a Huntington's disease patient experiencing constant amnesia. Just like himself, Lee-gun's father couldn't bear to tell Lee-gun's mother because he didn't want her to suffer. After comforting Lee-young, Mi-young approached Lee-gun, who was crying, and hugged him lovingly. He then thanked her for being with him during his worst times. The next day, Mi-young visited her mother, asking for her blessing to reconcile with Lee-gun and live the life she desires. Unfortunately, Mi-young's mother opposed, not wanting her daughter to suffer because of Lee-gun's illness. She feared that when the time came, Mi-young would only be accompanied by loneliness. Meanwhile, a saddened Lee-young handed Lee-gun a resignation letter and promised to leave the family home with his mother once they found a new place. However, Lee-gun kindly offered to continue housing them as family to keep his grandmother company and live harmoniously together. On the other hand, Lee-gun planned to move to another place, and manager Tak was looking for a suitable house. However, the chosen house was too luxurious and expensive according to Mi-young, so she suggested they live at Ji-yun's house instead. Not without conditions, Lee-gun and Ji-yun then signed a house swap contract that greatly benefited Ji-yun, where she would live in Lee-gun's house and be close to her boyfriend, who was Lee-young. With this contract, Lee-gun's grandmother also gave her approval. To make living at Ji-yun's house more comfortable, Lee-gun and Mi-young organized and cleaned from front to back. While tidying up, Mi-young opened a storage box and found a casino chip from Lee-gun from their time in Macau. Having this chip, Mi-young felt she always had hope in life, and one by one, her dreams came true. From now on, Lee-gun and Mi-young promised to live together and await new hopes in the future. Sometime later, although intended as a vacation, Mi-young still went to work. Likewise, Lee Goon had his own activities. Instead of going to the office, he visited Mi Young's mother's restaurant to win her blessing to reconcile with her daughter. However, despite being openly bribed with vitamins, Mi Young's mother was not tempted and became indifferent, unlike her usual self. Unexpectedly, she gave an answer that surprised Lee Goon, saying she was willing to take care of him unconditionally and treat him like her own son, as long as he let go of Mi Young. It turned out, she pitied her daughter for suffering, so she did not give her blessing and instead asked Lee Goon to understand a mother's feelings. However, Lee Goon's determination was very strong, so he did not give up and returned the next day to meet Mi Young's mother at the hair salon. On the second attempt, he still failed because Mi Young's mother had not changed her mind. As Mi Young had said, her mother was indeed not easily swayed. That night, when Lee Goon was about to spend some intimate time with Mi Young, they were visited by Mr. Park, Mija, and Hong Jun. The three invited Lee Goon and Mi Young to play the card game Go Stop. In the first round, Lee Goon kept losing to Mr. Park and his friends, which frustrated him. Unable to bear it, Mi Young joined the game, confident in her ability to win. Initially underestimated by Lee Goon, Mi Young turned out to be a formidable player, winning continuously until the others could no longer keep their eyes open. The next day, Lee Goon and Mi Young continued their mission to get her mother's blessing by joining her in exercising at the park. At that moment, Lee Goon tried various exercise equipment to demonstrate his determination, which left Mi Young's mother looking at them with a mix of amazement and admiration. After exercising, Lee Goon tenderly carried Mi Young, secretly warming her mother's heart. If only Lee Goon didn't suffer from a strange illness, Mi Young's mother would surely approve of their relationship. Meanwhile, something still nagged at Lee Goon about his father, prompting him to revisit his late father's diary. Considering it contained important information, Lee Goon then asked Lee Young's mother about her last encounter with his father. Hearing this, she then recalled how Lee Goon's father left their home, abandoning Lee Goon's mother and young Lee Goon. At that moment, he stayed with her for a while before deciding to return to his family, but he eventually died in an accident. Lee Goon thanked her for giving him his father's diary, which changed his perception of his father, whom he had always thought had let his mother down. While reading the diary, Lee Goon found a photo tucked in the back pages, showing a shady tree. Because of this, he suddenly remembered something related to the place in the photo, a place he had visited with his father when he was young. To aid his search, Lee Goon enlisted the help of a detective, who was a former boss of Do Company, the one that had previously bought his factory. It turned out, the company had gone bankrupt due to numerous illegal activities. If the detective could find the exact location of the tree, Lee Goon promised to pay double. The offer was enticing, and they agreed, despite having no clues about the place. On the other hand, since seeing the photo of a little girl in Daniel's apartment, Sarah had been avoiding him. However, she mustered the courage to ring his doorbell and offered him some homemade food. Since it was her first time cooking, the cake didn't look appealing but tasted quite good. Regarding the photo of the girl, it turned out to be Daniel's missing sister from their childhood. Initially reluctant, Sarah eventually admitted that she was the girl in the photo, though she didn't understand how she ended up in this situation. A few days later, Daniel, who hadn't seen Mi Young for a while, invited her to a cafe to give her a gift. The gift wasn't a physical item but a performance of him singing on stage, which moved Mi Young to tears as she reminisced about their beautiful moments together. This happiness was also shared by Lee Goon, who finally received her mother's blessing after witnessing his hard work. However, she couldn't bring herself to give her blessing with a smile and would not attend their wedding. Sometime later, just before exchanging wedding vows, Lee Goon took Mi Young, who was already beautifully dressed in her wedding gown, to a special place. Because of this, Manager Tak and the others panicked as guests had already started arriving. Even Lee Goon's grandmother was nearly fainting from the stress. The reason behind this unexpected trip was that the detective had found the location of the tree Lee Goon had mentioned, but the tree was about to be relocated. The detective then tried to stall the workers from moving the tree until Lee Goon and Mi Young arrived. When they finally arrived, Lee Goon reminisced about his last moments with his father. Besides playing and talking, they had buried a box near the tree, which was meant to be opened only when Lee Goon was an adult. After that, Lee Goon immediately dug up the box with determination and found it contained memories from his father, such as a tennis ball, cufflinks, and a letter filled with advice that would change his life. After reading the letter his father had buried in the wooden box near the tree where they had their last meeting, Lee Goon felt relieved and ready to live his life without burdens. They both then arrived at the wedding venue just as manager Tak was keeping the guests entertained, who were getting bored waiting for the couple. Not wanting to miss her daughter's wedding, Mi Young's mother, who initially said she wouldn't attend, suddenly appeared in a beautiful hanbok. Unlike their first wedding, this time the vows were spoken sincerely, ending with a passionate kiss that moved the guests. After officially getting married, they chose Jeju Island for their honeymoon, where the island offered beautiful scenery and a perfect atmosphere. As Lee Goon and Mi Young enjoyed their trip, with Mi Young even driving the car on the quiet roads, allowing Lee Goon to kiss her freely. Every moment was precious to them, so they spent their time together without any separation. Meanwhile, Lee Goon's grandmother's desire to quickly have grandchildren clashed with Lee Goon's plan to delay having children for 6 months so he could enjoy his time with Mi Young. Eventually, Lee Goon's grandmother orchestrated a scheme similar to what happened in Macau 3 years ago, with the help of manager Tak and Lee Young, who instructed the bartender to spike Lee Goon's and Mi Young's drinks with a strong aphrodisiac. Unfortunately, the dose from Mr. Park was so high that after just one drink, both Mi Young and Lee Goon stumbled back to their hotel room. The next morning, with no memory of the previous night's events, they woke up naked, just like in Macau. Realizing they had been set up, Lee Goon and Mi Young sought out the masterminds behind this prank, none other than manager Tak and Lee Young, who were promptly punished. On the second day in Jeju Island, Lee Goon and Mi Young, still intoxicated by love, never left each other's side. Lee Goon believed that Mi Young was destined for him since the ring-rolling incident at the shopping mall. Their romantic conversation under the twinkling stars became one of the most precious moments in their lives. Since they were intimate last night due to the influence of the drug, this time, they decided to do it more naturally and enjoy every touch until the sparks of love never ceased. Sometime later, after a passionate honeymoon, Mi Young finally got pregnant and was blessed with twins, just as Lee Young's mother had prayed for them to have twins for multiplied blessings. Meanwhile, Daniel confirmed that the photo of the woman he always kept was indeed Sarah. He then asked Sarah's mother, who did not deny it. After that, Sarah finally learned that she had been adopted by the woman who raised her. Although it was hard to accept, she felt fortunate to still have the chance to meet the only blood relative she had, who turned out to be Daniel. A month after this discovery, Sarah found a note from Daniel while cleaning her house, inviting her to enjoy ice cream under the bridge. When she arrived, Sarah approached Daniel, who was sketching a woman's face that resembled hers, and started a conversation awkwardly. As promised, instead of buying ice cream by himself, Daniel took Sarah to get ice cream together, to ensure that the past incident of losing his sister would never happen again. The time they missed together made Daniel pay full attention to Sarah, fostering a closer and more sibling-like relationship. Daniel spent time picking Sarah up at the ballet school where she taught, noting that her popularity was on par with his. Meanwhile, Lee Goon underwent a medical checkup that showed no signs of his illness reappearing, so the doctor advised him to live more calmly. Unexpectedly, Lee Goon's family doctor liked Mi Young's mother, who reciprocated his feelings and agreed to go to a movie with him. Other close people in Lee Goon's life also found their happiness one by one. Manager Tak discovered dancing as his new hobby. As his skills improved day by day, Manager Tak's dance instructor suggested that he could compete with the legendary dancer named Charles, who turned out to be Lawyer Hong. As a lawyer whose daily work often caused headaches, Lawyer Hong apparently needed an exciting hobby. Besides them, Lee Young was also happy as his love story with Ji Yun progressed smoothly after both families met. Unexpectedly, Lee Young's mother discovered that the restaurant where they had lunch was a subsidiary of Ji Yun's father's company, and that he knew Lee Goon's grandmother well. It turned out, Ji Yun had kept her elite family background hidden to see who truly cared for her. Knowing that Lee Young's mother would soon have a distinguished in-law, she changed her mind and encouraged them to get married soon. A few years later, Lee Goon and Mi Young's twins had grown up, living with happiness and blessings. During a family picnic in the park, Lee Goon read an engaging fairy tale that the children listened to eagerly. The story of a snail princess bore a striking resemblance to Mi Young's life. They were very happy in their marriage, complementing each other perfectly, and they had no regrets about anything they had gone through. Despite the sadness and problems, it all ended in joy. Moral lesson from the story: don't sneak around pretending to be a bird to avoid getting caught spying, or you'll end up getting rained on while mimicking bird calls. If you want to make friends, just be honest and buy them some ice cream, much simpler and less soggy.